What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got some more NBA news to talk about with you guys. This time actually revolving around the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks. So that currently actually being reported that both the Brooklyn Nets and New York Knicks have done background work on a potential trade target for, Zach Lavine, per Ian Begley. There's also currently reports that they're pretty, kind of convinced that he will potentially be requesting a trade from the Chicago Bulls very soon. Now, I don't exactly know how I feel about this for both teams. I think that the Knicks have kind of shown interest in literally every player again in this free agency / upcoming trade period. I mean, they've shown interest in, let's, take count: DeMar DeRozan, Danilo Gallinari, Chris Paul, LaMelo Ball, Killian Hayes, Zach Lavine. Literally, like, every player out there. James Wiseman, again, they have shown so much interest in all of these players. I was kind of convinced for the longest amount of time that it looked like they were going to get LaMelo Ball and Chris Paul. But now I'm not exactly too sure what they're kind of thinking of, as RJ Barrett kind of sits in that weird spot for me where I'm like, well, what's going to go on with RJ Barrett? Because if they've been interested in, LaMelo Ball and Chris Paul, let's just say they got both of them, then that would move RJ Barrett to the small forward. If they got, Zach Lavine, that would move RJ Barrett to the small forward position as well. But if they got DeMar, I think they could both, kind of play that kind of wing type of position where they'd both just pretty much swap. Depends, which play they'd rather defend on that night, I suppose. But again, I'm just not exactly too sure. RJ Barrett's kind of sitting in a weird spot right now where every single player like the Knicks want are pretty much, a guard / wing type of player, and he's kind of sat into that shooting guard position pretty comfortably throughout this season. So again, I'm not exactly too sure what's going to happen with that. I definitely think he'll have to move to small forward, which I don't think is really an issue as well. Some people are, at all. Some people are talking about it, I think. But again, I don't even think it's that big of an issue. But I just don't know if Zach Lavine is necessarily the player the Bulls, the Knicks should be, trying to get. I mean, Zach Lavine is obviously a very, very good player, but I think what the Knicks should be trying to go out and get for once is maybe some, some veteran type of players to bring onto their team. I think a lot of Knicks fans are really kind of hoping that they do go out and target a lot of those players. I've been reading you guys' comments, and I know a lot of you guys are very interested in Danilo Gallinari. A couple of you guys are interested in Chris Paul, DeMar DeRozan. These type of veteran players, I think, would be really nice to, these veteran all-stars to partner up with the, the players that they've got on the team right now. For example, they've got a lot of young players: RJ Barrett, Kevin Knox. They're, top 10 pick this season, which I think could be like maybe James Wiseman or someone like that. Again, they've got a lot of these really nice young players, and a couple of them actually do have quite a bit of, potential here and there. I just think it would be really nice for them to actually start bringing in some leadership, veteran leadership that are actually stars. And yeah, I think Chris Paul would be a perfect player to kind of bring in. I've been talking about this for a little bit now, how I think Chris Paul would be a really nice player for the Knicks to kind of have, because since 2010, besides, Jeremy Lin's short stint at the Knicks really haven't had any, good point guards at all. I mean, Raymond Fountain is probably their most consistent point guard they've had in this period, and he only played a couple of seasons with the New York Knicks. So I think, considering they've had literally, no good point guards in the last 10 years, except maybe that small stint with Jeremy Lin, I think it'd actually be really nice to bring in a veteran point guard like Chris Paul, whose trade value isn't exactly going to be heaps, and he is an all-star this season that was averaging, quite a decent amount of points and all. And yeah, I just think that would be a very, very interesting idea. And yeah, I kind of like the Danilo Gallinari idea alongside it as well. So I don't know, they could literally try and bring in all three of them. They could bring in Zach Lavine, Chris Paul, and Danilo Gallinari, and they would still have a lot of cap left. So I mean, they can get Gallinari on probably $18 million or something like that. Lavine is one of the most underrated players in the league, in my opinion. He's only on about $19 million, and yes, you're going to have Chris Paul about on that $40 million contract or so, but they're still going to have quite a bit of money to, potentially be able to spend. I don't think they would realistically be able to get another player worth $20 million or something like that. I think that's a little bit out of it. I think, yeah, because they'll still have a couple of their young players on, big contracts here and there, especially, RJ Barrett, who's going to be on an $8 million deal or so. So Again, I don't really think they can try and do that. But yeah, Zach Lavine's had a super underrated year on the New York Knicks that I don't think a lot of people are really appreciating as enough, or on the Chicago Bulls rather, sorry, that I don't think a lot of people are appreciating enough. I mean, 34.8 minutes per game, and he's averaging 25.5 minutes on 4.8 rebounds and 4.2 assists on 38% from 3. He's literally had to single-handedly carry this Chicago Bulls team. Like, I mean, if they didn't have Zach Lavine, this team would by far be the worst team in the league, most likely. I mean, Lauri Markkanen's having a terrible season as it is. Otto Porter Jr. and Wendell Carter Jr. have had a lot of injuries throughout the throughout the season, sorry. They would literally, if they didn't have Zach Lavine, they would have a team of, Kobe White, Dad Young, Thomas Satoransky, Chris Dunn, and yeah, that would, Wendell Carter Jr., that would, and yeah, I guess Lauri Markkanen, but he hasn't exactly had the greatest season at all, 15 points per game, but his defense has been extremely poor, and yeah, Zach Lavine, the fact that he's got them to 22 wins is pretty insane. I feel like without him, they would only have maybe 10 to 15 wins. Like, literally, honestly, he's been so good for the Bulls. And that's why, I think a lot of Bulls fans will agree with me that Zach Lavine is a very underrated player, in my opinion. And yeah, I don't think Chicago Bulls fans would really like to see him get traded at all. And yeah, I definitely think if he was to request a trade, I think the New York Knicks could actually get him on not exactly the most expensive deal here and there. Like, realistically, with those amount of points and how he's not exactly the worst defender, he's not really a great defender, but he's only 25 years of age still. Like, I wouldn't say he's even in his prime yet. The fact that, that his trade value isn't even exactly that big because there's so much people that kind of don't really rate him because of his defense and that the Chicago Bulls haven't really contended or anything like that is crazy to me. And yeah, I definitely think the Knicks could get a really nice deal with the Bulls if they were able to, kind of trade for him. But yeah, what that would most likely look like, I'm not exactly too sure. I feel like it would probably be a future first round pick and, a couple of things like that. And that's if the pretty much Knicks don't land a couple of nice players here and there because, the Chicago Bulls will be expecting them to not exactly be that decent next season. But if they can land Chris Paul and they get Zach Lavine, then that pick will probably be around 15 or so or something like that. Or, again, possibly even later in the first round. So, you look, if the Knicks fall down in the lottery and they get like pick 10 or something like that, or pick 9, whatever it may be, I could definitely see that being a straight swap of that, pick 9 or whatever for Zach Lavine. I definitely think, that would be a decent deal for the Chicago Bulls and wouldn't exactly be that bad for the Knicks either, because I don't really think there's going to be anyone on the board at like pick 9 or so that's going to be, really too interesting to the Knicks. Like, I mean, Anthony Edwards, Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, James Wiseman, maybe Killian Hayes, Cole Anthony, they'll all most likely be off the board by that time, and, Denny Avdija and Obi Toppin. So, I don't really think the Knicks are going to have too many plays at that type of area that are going to really be interesting them too much. So, yeah, pick 9 or so for Zach Lavine would actually be a pretty decent deal. But if we look over to the Brooklyn Nets side, now I haven't been really talking about them that much in this video, but the Nets, I don't know how that would really go as well with them, as they've kind of already got Karis LeVert, so that doesn't exactly make too much sense to me. Like, I mean, they've got Kyrie Irving as their point guard. I'd say Karis LeVert has been playing a lot of shooting guard / small forward. Might have to play a bit of small forward next season if they're going to start KD at power forward, which I don't think they will. I think they might start, Taurean Prince at power forward, most likely. That's what I'd probably see would happen. So that means Karis LeVert would be getting the shooting guard start. And, yeah, I don't really think the Brooklyn Nets really want to kind of trade Karis LeVert anyway, unless if it was for, like, a big star, like maybe Bradley Beal. So, again, I'm not exactly too sure how that would all kind of go. I really, he's averaging 17.7 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, and 4.1 assists on 38% from 3. He's actually having a pretty decent season as well, and he's just came off that, pretty big injury that he had the previous season. So, again, I think they would kind of want to keep him unless they were able to kind of trade for a star that would maybe be someone like Bradley Beal, etc. So, I don't really understand why the Nets would be really looking at, potentially Zach Lavine. Like, I mean, if they were to trade Levert for maybe a player like Bradley Beal, then, you know, again, Bradley Beal is still going to play that shooting guard position. And I doubt you're really going to want to play Zach Lavine at small forward. Like, I mean, he's had to do that this whole season with the Chicago Bulls. And it's pretty clear that it doesn't really work at all. So, I really wouldn't think they would ever look to try that. So, it kind of just confuses me why the Brooklyn Nets are interested in Zach Lavine at all. But yeah, I definitely would really like to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions on this. Why do you guys think the Nets are interested in Zach Lavine? And should they trade for him? Because, yeah, again, I really don't know. I'm looking into this Nets team, and they've already got Levert and Kyrie. Why would they really need Zach Lavine at all? I mean, yeah, again, Zach Lavine plays the same position as Levert does, and at least Levert can actually go guard that small forward position, while I don't think Lavine is the greatest defender out there to actually be doing that task. So, again, I would really like to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions on this all down below. And also, what do you guys think about the New York Knicks being interested in Zach Lavine? Do you guys think they should actually go and trade for him, or do you guys think they shouldn't? Again, I definitely would really like to know your thoughts and opinions on this all down below. But also, don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel, MIRL/vlogging channel. Subscribe to this channel for all the latest sports-related content, NBA, AFL, NFL, all that type of stuff. And yeah, definitely go check out my podcast as well if you haven't already, where I talk about all the latest sports content on there as well. So all of that will all be in, the links for them will be in the description down below. But as I was saying, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, comment in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.